So is the DJI Avata 2 worth the $1,200 or the $1,400 if you want to buy the DJI Controller 3? Worth it in today's market, and should you go out and spend your hard-earned money on one today? That's what we're going to be going over in today's video. If you guys want an in-depth review of the actual DJI Avata 2, I actually have another video on my channel where I go more in depth of the actual user experience and the detailed specs. I'll put that link down below. And if you guys are new here, my name is Judson Robertson. I run a successful creative agency that generates a little bit over $60,000 per month. And on this channel, we go over in-depth gear reviews, how to make money within the creative business, and self-improvement. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Now that we have gotten that out of the way, let's go over the first section of this video. The DJI Avata 2 is actually the third FPV drone released by DJI. Based on my opinion, I think it is the best DJI FPV drone that has been released. Guys, this thing is just freaking awesome. But it is not cheap. So the entry-level price for this drone is going to cost you $999, but that would only give you guys one battery and would only include the motion controller, which would be a good starting point. But if you really want to take full advantage of this drone, you're really going to want to buy the full 3 batteries so you don't get cut flying for only about 10 or 15 minutes. And you're probably going to want to pick up the DJI Controller 3, which is going to cost you an extra $200. So yeah, it's definitely not a cheap entry point for a drone, but I do think that this drone packs quite a lot of features. And like I said in this video, we're going to talk about why. So let's move into the second chapter of this video, which is going to be the features. Now, again, I do have another video on the channel that is more of an in-depth review of this drone, but I'm just going to quickly cover some of its features. So first is going to be the design and the build. So this is actually a completely new design from DJI. It has some similar components to the original Avata, but it is definitely a lot smaller. It doesn't have as big as a top portion like that original Avata, and I do think that it just looks pretty classy, looks pretty slick. And overall, I really do like the look of this drone. Moving into the camera quality, guys, the camera quality on this drone is the huge selling point, especially for me, because you can now record in D-Log, 4K 10-bit D-Log, which really brings this drone from a consumer drone to a professional drone, in my personal opinion. So if you guys are not familiar with D-Log, it's a log footage that allows you to really dive deep into the dynamic range and be able to add your own creative look in post-production. So as a professional videographer, that is almost a must when I am filming professional content for professionally paid clients. So the next is going to be the flight performance. So this is supposed to be the best handled FPV drone that DJI has released, and I can contest to that. I actually owned the original DJI FPV, which I was not a fan of. It did not fly well at all, and I did skip out on the DJI Avata for that reason. But because of the upgraded technologies and all of the things that this thing packs, I did decide to go ahead and pick up the Avata 2. Now, moving into the special features, and I like to kind of name these because if you guys were to go down the traditional FPV route, you're not going to get things like enhanced GPS, obstacle avoidance, intelligent flight modes, things that allow this drone to just hover in place and keep your hand off the controller, and just all that cool stuff that DJI likes to offer on their drones. Now, moving into the ease of use, guys, if you guys are getting into the FPV world and you guys are beginners, I would almost say that this is an absolute must because, guys, traditional FPV is not easy. They don't have safety features. They don't have, things that allow you to start in a basic mode and move it up to a full manual mode like this one. You pretty much have to put a bunch of time in the simulator and then just, go out and fly and take the risk. And believe me, guys, that can become very, very expensive. I've actually lost 3 traditional FPV drones myself, through crashing them, through losing signal, and it is not fun at all. So basically, this drone will allow you to kind of, slowly move up the rankings in learning this FPV process. So for beginners, it's definitely a huge plus. So now that we've kind of gone over some of the key features of the drone, let's talk about the user experience and my experience using this DJI Avata 2 so far. So guys, from somebody who has come from a traditional FPV background, I actually flew traditional FPV drones back in 2020. And guys, it is not an easy hobby skill set to get into. You have to actually spend almost double the amount of money to get in traditional FPV, because you have to pick up the body of the FPV drone, you have to pick up a controller, you have to pick up a headset, you have to pick up all the LiPo batteries, you have to pick up a LiPo battery charger, and on top of all that, you need to realistically buy some sort of camera to put on top of that traditional FPV, which in my case was a GoPro. So you're actually looking at a little bit over $2,000 to get into that traditional FPV side. That all being said, when it comes to the user experience, this thing is pretty much everything that you need right out of the box, which is a huge plus. And DJI actually offers things like flight simulations, practice modes, sport mode, and then of course full manual mode. But the coolest feature of this drone is that, let's say that you're flying it in manual mode for the first time, you get scared, you kind of start flying it the wrong way, it's going into the wrong direction, you would instantly click a switch, put it back into the normal mode, and it would just stop wherever it's at and hover in place, which is honestly a great feature for somebody beginning, or even somebody who's experienced, who's taking this thing out, gets a little bit uncomfortable and can just quickly switch to normal and save the drone from crashing or going into a restricted area, which, believe me, that does happen, even to me 5 years deep into the FPV world. And guys, it can definitely come in clutch. And then another huge feature of this drone for the user experience is going to be the app integration. You guys can make updates directly from the application. You can have somebody view this drone, what this drone is seeing through a cell phone. You guys can connect everything through the phone. So just being able to have that DJI experience with an FPV drone is definitely a huge plus. So now let's move into the comparison of this drone with competitors, which in my opinion, there really is nothing like it on the market. The only thing you could really compare this thing to is traditional FPVs, in my opinion, which, as I mentioned before, is not going to be cheap. It's probably going to cost more than this, and if it doesn't cost more, it's going to cost pretty close to what this thing does if you're including putting on a camera, which is honestly a huge necessity for a filmmaker like me. And this thing really does excel in all areas of its competition, due to the fact that you can just literally buy this thing, put it up in the air the first day, and get flying, learning FPV. So moving into the overall conclusion of this video, again guys, the purpose of this video is just to kind of help sway your opinion and give you my opinion on, hey, is this thing worth the $1,000, $1,200, or $1,400? And I would say 100% absolutely. If you guys are on the edge of trying to buy this drone, listen, I don't have any sponsorships through this video specifically, especially with DJI. I'm going to be as honest as possible. I think that this thing is an absolutely extraordinary drone. And guys, if you're looking to get an FPV, you didn't know how to do it before, this is going to be your entry point. As I mentioned before, you guys can actually see another in-depth review that I have on my channel where I talk a little bit more about its features, about the controller capabilities, and all that good stuff, which I will leave a link down in the description. And I quickly wanted to mention on this video, guys, Freewell sent me some ND filters, which I have been able to test out on this DJI FPV. They actually sent me the standard 4-pack right here, which has an ND8, ND16, ND32, and an ND64. They sent me a UV filter right here, And they also sent me just a regular PL polarized one right here as well. If you guys don't know what ND filters are, they essentially allow you to put a sunglass over the lens of your camera so that you can adjust the shutter to the 180 rule, where it is essentially double the frame rate. That gives you a nice, smooth, buttery, cinematic look to all of your footage. These things will actually clip right on top of the front of the DJI FPV. So what I'll do is I'll just show you guys an example of how it kind of just clips right on. So they basically just clip in to the front. Let me try to get this in focus in the camera so you guys can see. They clip in right to the front. My fingerprints are on there, so disregard the fingerprints. And guys, this is really quality glass. I've been using it flying and testing my FPV drone with these ND filters. They look great. And DJI actually has their own version of these ND filters that you can buy on their website. But in my opinion, they're definitely overpriced. You don't need to buy the DJI version. So yeah, if you guys are interested, I'll put the link down in the description. If you guys are in the cinema world, you're definitely going to want to pick these things up for your DJI Avata 2. Again, the company name is Freewell. And thanks again for sending me over these ND filters. I'm excited to test them out. So that is pretty much everything I got for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a comment, like, and always subscribe to the channel for more similar badass content. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.